Hi, I'm Jason Gorber for ThatShelf.com. We're here to look at this magnificent release. Jethro Tull is Still Living in the Past, the deluxe box set edition.
ThatShelf.
So Jethro Tull, Steve Wilson, other people doing the mixes, they've done an incredible job of archiving record by record the Jethro Tull releases. There's been amazing releases, archival releases. Neil Young comes to mind, Frank Zappa comes to mind, Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell now. But Jethro Tull has been, frankly, just absolute at the top of doing these kind of phenomenal disc release, these sort of booklet versions. I happen to have, I think, all of them. They started out with these kind of things. This was sort of the original benefit release. It was like a 3 CD release, a deluxe, a super deluxe edition, as per a very famous website. And then they had this guy. This was actually really fun. This is the sort of stand-up release that has, multi-disc. This is 3 discs in this. You can see this sort of cardboardy thing coming out. So 2 CDs and a Blu-ray would have multi-channel mixes and stuff like that. And if Diana, if this was all we had, it might have been enough. These sort of cool little CD sets this way, but they went crazy. They started releasing stuff like this. Here happens to be War Child. So basically what you have here is a CD1, CD2, and then you have a DVD with both audio, in this case 2 DVDs, with a bunch of audio, a bunch of video clips. Each of these sets has multi-discs. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a full breakdown. Now this is just War Child, right? Obviously a definitive version of War Child looks great on the thing. So, here's War Child. Amazing, amazing record. It's thick as a brick. I have like 4 other versions of Thick as a Brick. But this, the 40th anniversary set, has the CD, the original album remix, and then Thick as a Brick is 5.1, and DTS Dolby Surround, new mix. Plus, they often include a stereo flat mix flat transfer, so flat transfer of the master tape. So you actually have on here a multi-channel mix, but also a really excellent and extraordinary version of the original 2-channel. And then radio ads and stuff like that. And this is, again, a 5.1 mix by Steve Wilson, who has, taken his love of this era stuff and been the go-to person for some of these multi-channel mixes. Here's a Passion Play. Same thing here. CD1, CD2, and 2 DVDs of audio mixed to, in this case, 9624 and a 5.1 surround sound. In this case, Lost C. So they're DVDs, they're not Blu-rays. That is a little bit of an annoyance, as it were. But you're still getting some pretty spectacular stuff. And when it comes to surround sound, often the lossy is less of a big deal. In 2-channel, you sort of hear it a lot more. Here's Aqualung. Same thing. Here's the other benefit. So you see we've gone from this set to this, and included a few more things. And of course, crazy people like me will actually own them both. Same thing this. Stand up, we had this, and now we have this. And this stand up actually has the stand up. It actually has the illustration. And a bunch of these mixes have also been released on vinyl, of course. I've shown some of those before, where the new 2-channel mix by Steve Wilson, which many people may find definitive, has actually been released in other ways. Here's their This Was, CD1, CD2, CD3, and then the original elements on the DVD audio. Again, 4.1 DTS and AC, right? So in this case, sort of a semi-quadraphonic mix of This Was, a 4.1 mix. Great. Here's Jethro Tull's A. This is one of the records that, on the late period Jethro Tull, I know almost nothing about. I rarely listen to this, but, completists, you actually collect all this stuff right to the end. And this is, again, Steve Wilson's 2020 remix. Stormwatch, another record that sort of is the later period, not necessarily my favorite period of Jethro Tull, but this allows me to sort of explore it in a much deeper way as it all goes through. Heavy Horses. Again, now Steve Wilson getting really prominently shown on here. lots of Ian Anderson in here, booklet, and then in this case, 2 discs here, 2 discs here, another one that sort of slides in the cardboard here. Yeah, this has CD1, CD2, CD3, and then 2 DVDs, including video, including all those elements. Songs from the Wood. This is very much my era. This is again their 40th anniversary collection, booklet, discs, etc. This title is sort of speaking to me very conveniently or emphatically. Too Old to Rock and Roll, Too Young to Die. The sort of always atrocious cover art, but replicating it again. Huge booklet, very detailed, going into all the elements. In this case, including again 2 discs of DVD, DTS, and Dolby Digital mixes, as well as the stereo, and then a bunch of film clips and other associated elements. We have Minstrel in the Gallery. Here, they're again the 40th anniversary, the grand editions, as they say, with the multi-discs. And then we have this guy. This actually is another one that I recently got. This is the Jethro Tull Live, the inflated edition, original 1978 live album with additional recordings, and the full October 1978 Madison Square Garden concert with partial video, remixed to stereo 5.1 surround by Steven Wilson. Amazing. So, a live album I've frankly never even heard, and it's now gladly part of my collection. Which leads us to the most recent release, which is this, which is Still Living in the Past. This is an expansion of the original Living in the Past. So the 1972 double album remixed and expanded to include related recordings, associated original mixes, and the full November 1970 Carnegie Hall concert remixed to stereo and 5.1 surround by Mr. Steven Wilson. So let's open this one so you can see what is inside. I bet it's going to look a lot like the other ones. Let's do this carefully. But yeah, this one I'm excited about. The live stuff is pretty phenomenal. And there's some other elements on here that are among my favorites of the band. Some really, really terrific tracks. So yeah, bunch of remixes, all those elements. So there's those 2 discs in the front, and of course the 2 discs in the back with the Live in the Carnegie elements. And then the other one that sort of slips in here. Look, includes sheet music. I mean, the amount of ephemera, amount of elements that they've actually included here. The closest I can think to this in terms of this stuff, this is sort of like my Motown complete boxes. Like, it's so much stuff, and you could spend months and months and months going through all of these elements. Something that, frankly, one day I may do, one day I may not, but we will see. Yeah, Song for Jeffrey, Love Story, Christmas Song, Living in the Past, Driving Song, Sweet Dreams, Singing All Day, Teacher, Inside. These are all the mix. And then early versions of My God, just trying to be, Wondering Again, Locomotive Breath, the DJ single edit. Life's a Long Song, absolutely one of my favorite Tull songs. I'm just a huge fan of that sort of bolero structure I've mentioned many times, but that is from this era song that I absolutely, completely adore. And then there's the alternate master mix of Life's a Long Song, etc., etc. And yes, just absolutely amazing stuff. So 3 CDs, and then the Live at Carnegie Hall, including all those elements, all on CD 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then the Blu-ray includes all the additional elements. Really, really, really stunning set, beautifully put together, and just, even if you're a moderate fan of Jethro Tull, even picking up some of them, they're not they're not inexpensive these days. They when they sell out, and they're hard to actually track down. But I can't think of a better celebration of this band. It's absolutely gargantuan project, and kudos to all involved. Could not be more excited to add this one to my collection. Let me know in the comments what you think about this particular band, these particular releases, if you love them nearly as much as me. I mean, it's insane. It's so fantastic to include on my shelf, as it were. So for thatshelf.com, I am Jason Gorber. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, follow us on social media, ring the bell, do all that stuff. We'll see you next video. All the best. Take care.